Good morning. We'll call the Wednesday morning, October 11th meeting, the Criminal Justice meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hess?
Present.
Mr. Long?
Present.
Mr. Fairfield? Mr. Tholen? Mr. Carrico? Mr. Eckhoff? Mr. Hunter? Ms. Turner? Ms. Bunday? Ms. Andrade? Ms. Armour Earps? Ms. Ribnick-Emy? Mr. Scanlon? Mr. Miller, or Mr. Wheeler? Mr. Alexander Hildebrand? We have a quorum.
I have not received anything for public comment. Is there any public comment at this time? Any public comment? Moving on to the approval of minutes from September 13th, 2003. Take a motion to approve. Ms. Monday, second by Mr. Carrico. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Up next, Chief Judge, Mr. Cunnington. Good morning, sir.
Chairman, good morning. Good morning. Got maybe two things to report on this morning. Starting Monday, Thompson Electronics is going to be in the courthouse and the jail updating our audio-visual equipment. We got a grant about a year ago to purchase new TVs, cameras, wiring, and computer components for the connection to the jail, as well as allowing Zoom to come into the courtroom. So we will be, they'll start one courtroom at a time. It's going to take about a week, they're telling us, per courtroom. And then I'm not sure how long it'll be at the jail. There's two rooms at the jail that are used for the audio-visual connection to the courtrooms. So they'll be out there too with, again, new equipment. And that was a grant, all that was paid for with a grant from the Administrative Office of Illinois Courts in Springfield. Let's see, the second thing then that I wanted to report on is the what was it I was going to report on? I should write this stuff down. I guess that was it. Okay. Any questions about the grant? It's about $1 million total in equipment, and then there's new podiums that we're getting too. That's a different company, but those will all have computer connections to the audio-visual equipment in the courtrooms.
Any questions from the Chief Judge?
Oh, I know what it was. Just a mention about the Safety Act. I know we'll probably get some additional reports on that today. We're about 3 weeks into that. What we're finding is, as far as the judiciary is concerned, is it is taking a lot more time than the normal, what we used to do as far as the bond hearings were concerned. I know yesterday they went from, Judge Dickinson went from 1:30 to 4 o'clock just on our detention hearings. And so they are lengthy, they are involved. They're sort of like mini trials because there is a proffer of evidence by the prosecutor, and then the defense also has an opportunity to present their side of whether or not that particular person should be detained or released with conditions. So it is going to be a problem when we have multiple juries going on Monday afternoon, especially. But when the jury trials are going, then we're going to have to assign other judges to handle those calls. So I just want to report on that it is taking substantially more time than previously. Okay.
Any questions? Ms. Monday.
With that, thank you, Mr. Chair. With that being said, though, do you see it falling into any kind of routines, or can there even be a routine with this? Is it becoming more comfortable, or is it still kind of chaotic?
Well, it's not chaotic, but we're still figuring out how long it's going to take, and each day is different. But we're seeing, 15 to 20 custodies at a time every day, and so right now we have it set up where the two felony judges on the third floor, Judge Elliott and Judge Dickinson, will be the judges that are handling that, because they normally handled the custody call. And then if they're busy and I'm not, if I don't have a jury going that particular day, then I would do them. And also Judge Claudio is on board. So right now we have 4 judges that are trained to and set up to do those hearings. So it may just be whoever's not busy, it's going to go to their courtroom, because it's going to change week by week, day by day.
Mr. Wheeler.
Is this the hearings that are covered right now by a relaxed video conferencing allowance that will go away at some point?
Yeah, that's a portion of it. It'll go away, I think, May 18th, where the Supreme Court has relaxed the rules and allowed us to do video conferencing for these detention hearings with the jail. So right now, the sheriff is very happy that he doesn't have to transport 5 to 10 people every day over to the courthouse for those detention hearings. But that is scheduled to end in May.
So it's a trickle-down effect. It's not only the courts, but then it's the sheriff, state's attorney,
Public
probation,
defender,
public defender.
Right.
Go ahead, Mr.
Yep.
Wheeler.
People working the door.
Security?
Whether it's corrections or a deputy, that's going to be. It seems like we have an increased number of people there. It would seem that way. I may be wrong, but we would need more of a presence, and that's really for the sheriff to let us know.
Right.
Any other questions for the Chief Judge? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Cianci is not here today, but in your package you have a copy of her monthly report. Take a motion to approve that. Mr. Long, second by Mr. Eckhoff. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. State's Attorney's Office, Mr. Coughlin. In your package you have a copy of the grand jury report and the grand jury statistics report. Take a motion to combine and approve them. Mr. Hunter, second by Ms. Ripman-Emming.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Comments on the report, sir?
No real comments on the report. The numbers have been pretty steady as far as indictments. As far as the Safety Act stuff goes, I mean, our office it is a lot more work. Our policy is that if an offense is detainable, we are filing motions to detain, or petitions rather to detain. So and that's across the board. So that being the case, it is increasing the work, our office's work. Luckily, that's handled by the criminal division, not the civil division. So it's more over there on the 3rd floor. But it is a lot more work. So if anybody's got any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions? We have a motion, a second on the, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Anything else, sir?
No, sir. Thank you.
Up next, Public Defender's Office, Mr. Pentewick. In the packet, you have a copy of his report. Take a motion to approve that. Mr. Fairfield, second by Mr. Eckhoff. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, everyone.
Comments on your report, sir?
I have no comments. I noticed the numbers going down. To be honest, I want to see why that is, because there's a myriad of reasons as to why caseloads could go down. One of the assistants could just clean out one of their dressers, one of their cabinets, and close out files. So the numbers are going down, but I want to hopefully next meeting, I can have some more specifics as to why. Other than that, I have no comments on the report.
Any questions on his report? We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Anything else, sir?
Just briefly regarding the Safety Act, it's been more labor intensive than I thought it was going to be. We have to talk to the clients beforehand. The jail's been more than cooperative and been doing everything within their power to facilitate meetings with the clients over the phone. However, I mean, things as simple as whether or not the guy needs an interpreter, we don't know. We don't know what we don't know. If someone gets arrested the night before, we have to coordinate all those things, anticipate those things. I'm trying to kick around some ideas, having 2 people do them, but if you have 2 people do them, they only call 1 case at a time, so then I have 2 assistants sitting there at 1:30, waiting for each other to switch off. It is definitely labor intensive, basically from, 12:45 at the or latest till whatever court is done, we are working. We're looking at the police reports, we're talking to the clients, we're arguing before the court, so it's definitely increased our workload. We did get a substantial grant from the state of Illinois, and I intend to use that to hire another person. I did have someone in the fold, but unfortunately, they did not pass the bar. So I'm working on that, but it's definitely had an impact on our office. And that's all I have.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Up next, probation, Mr. Latham. In your packet, you have a copy of Tom's monthly report. Take a motion to approve by Mr. Long, second by Ms. Monday. Morning, Tom.
Good morning. I don't have any comments on my report unless there's any questions.
Any questions on Tom's report? Ms. Monday.
I guess I would like to hear as well, how has this affected you, the Safety Act?
Well, like I said before, we're delayed on the impact because we're on the supervision side of it. So it has to go through the process of the court, and so our numbers take time to build.
Right.
It's not the same as everyone else's right out of the gate. It changes everything. We'll see how that goes over the next few months. So.
Any other questions? We have a motion, a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Just 2 things. Just to give you an update. Our contract expired for both. That include both Kankakee and Iroquois offices November 30th. So we've been in negotiations. Last month we came to an agreement. So right now that's in the process of getting signatures from the union side of it. Then the chief judge will sign it and it'll go into effect. We're able to get that salary increased. Currently we're 11% below state pretrial positions, which is we've lost a couple people to them. So we really wanted to get that up to that level at least, which we did. These positions are fully funded from the state reimbursement. So I'm hoping that'll help. We'll see. You know, really, retention's not our issue so much as it is just applicants. So we'll see, but at least that's done and we can move forward. So, and the second thing is with pretrial, you know, last month I think I brought up that we reached out to the state to take over the pretrial supervision, which they supervise most of the state anyway right now, most of the counties in the state. That process has started. It's going to take a little time. They have to hire. They have to find space here in the county and lease space here locally, which we've been working with them a little bit on to help them get that process moving. They're confident that they can take over by December 1st, which I think is a little early, quick, but I'm hoping that's true. But hoping if in the next 6 months they will take it over and we'll transition where the state is handling all of it. So, and that decision was made based on, like I've said, we can't fill positions. You know, the 5 we have, we would need 3 more, probably at least. So down to 8 if we kept pretrial. So that's why we made that decision. So I'll keep you posted on the progress with that. So.
Question.
And lastly, drug court auction, October 20th, 6 o'clock, Knights of Columbus. It's obviously their biggest fundraiser. You can contact me or our office for tickets or any information like that or online. But you can call me anytime if you have any questions for it.
If you haven't attended, it's a good time. Believe me.
They do a great job. They do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. Up next, the sheriff. In fact, you have a copy of the sheriff's monthly report. Take a motion to approve. Mr. Long, second by Mr. Eckhoff. Good morning, sir. Morning. Comments on your report, sir.
Good morning, everybody. So our local number has dropped a little bit since, I mean, it's been trending down since September 18th. which wasn't surprising. Obviously, we didn't let everybody out of jail, which we knew we weren't going to do. But there are those who are petitioning the court to for their release under the Safety Act. I can tell you that there were, if you recall, I don't know if it was in the media or not. I think it was. KMEG actually had a warrant sweep of, I think they arrested 17 or 18, and all of those individuals were basically involved with cocaine, meth, fentanyl, all the things that you hear from our coroner. And I believe last week or the week before, they petitioned to be released under the Safety Act, and they got out. So they're back to, I'm sure they probably went back to what they were doing, be my guess. But that's certainly one of the drawbacks of what this Safety Act is going to do. Frustrating from a law enforcement side when KMEG, in spite of what you may see on television, these cases aren't involved. Don't put themselves together in an hour TV show. It takes months to build cases against a lot of these individuals who are out there peddling stuff that we know kills people. And they're back on the street now because of the Safety Act. Question.
Mr. Hunter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Great presentation yesterday, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Very informative. I think you had at our table, you had big supporters there, including Jim Rowe there. To a person this morning, there's been an articulation, and I think Peggy Sue brought this up, in terms of the impact of the Safety Act. Almost every person has said that it's labor and time intensive, and that has increased. From your perspective, I know that you're very involved with the Illinois Sheriff's Association. Can you, and I think I posed this question to you before, and I don't know if anything has transpired since that question was posed to you. Any proposed trailer bills in the hopper that would address this, or is it too soon?
Well, I think we have, of course, with everything going into effect on September 18th, I don't think anybody in this room, including those in the back, who, between the state's attorney, the chief judge, the public defender, and probation, knew the effects. 100%. We could speculate, and it sounds like things are that there are things that obviously need to be looked at. We are compiling, we being the Sheriff's Association, are compiling information so that we can present it to the legislators to improve what we have so far. But that's about where we're at. I think they go back into veto session here fairly quickly, within the next couple weeks, I think. And so I know that we'll have a few things that we want to kind of fix up. One of the things, and I don't know what the possibilities are, but the biggest thing may happen 6 months after September 18th, and that is having to move all these inmates over to the courthouse as opposed to doing it on video right now. That will be problematic for us. Credit to the Illinois Supreme Court, I can't believe I said that, for allowing us the 6 months to do these by video. Whether or not they look at it at some point and say, hey, this works, let's keep it that way, that would be extremely beneficial. Unfortunately, as I've said before, I don't think the legislature, nor in this case the Supreme Court, are going to do law enforcement any favors. So all we can do is ask.
Will you be testifying, or have you been identified
No,
as one of the
that'll be
experts?
probably our president. We'll probably do it. The
Will
president.
you be
of- sure,
attending?
if I get invited. So
But
yeah,
I know you're pretty active though in that, though. I mean,
Sure.
You got a strong voice, and that's
Yeah.
why I posed that question to you about trailer bills. So.
yep. Yeah, there's certainly in the works. We'll see what happens.
Mr. Wheeler.
I'm gonna ask a question that's not in an area of my expertise, but it seems to me that the problem is that the state has a different viewpoint on law enforcement than law enforcement does.
It's probably a fair assessment.
So to be kind, can some of these cases be charged federally to take it out of the state's hands?
Well, I think we were heading that way prior to even September 18th. Anything that was going to be, anything that could be charged federally that the feds would take, they were going to the feds. So we were already doing that prior to September 18th. And we'll continue to do that. And that's probably more of a question for John and Jim, but I know in talking to Jim, yeah, he has no problem sending a case to the feds.
I just say, I know of no fentanyl labs produced here in Illinois that's all coming from at least crossing state lines. At the very least, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I mean,
no, I get it. And that was one of the problems that we saw, based on the charges and what's detainable and what's not detainable. And so, yeah, it's, like I said, I didn't want to have to say I told you so, but.
Ms. Monday.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I kind of wondered about this before the Safety Act went into place, and now you've maybe addressed it just a little bit here, but so what happens to the drug sweeps that you normally would do? And now you understand that, well, is it a waste of your time, or you just need to be more strategic with it so something can be charged federally? Or is it, how does it change, using that just as an example, the drug sweep idea?
It's our plan to continue doing what KMEG does. How they put their cases together, whether they go federal or not, will certainly be up to them. But we have no intention of not going after these drug dealers, because that was always the criticism way back in the late 90s or the mid 90s, where law enforcement, and rightfully so, the criticism was going after the users as opposed to the dealers. Well, now they're going after the dealers. They're not going after the users as much, unless the users are selling. So, yeah, that's not going to change. We have no intention to change that.
Well, and I certainly didn't mean to imply that you wouldn't continue, but
No,
I just wondered, like, strategically, I'm thinking you have to look at it a little differently on how you...
Yeah, I would imagine that there's some things that may be done differently through KMEG that would, that a case could go federally. So we do, we have a detective in the U.S. Marshals Great Lakes Regional Task Force. We have somebody out in KMEG who's involved, who is from the ATF. So we do have those federal contacts that help us, and obviously with the Safety Act and the changes, obviously that's the first thing we look at.
Thank you.
Anything else? Back to your report.
Yeah, the out of counties are the number's still averaging over 100 more this year than we did last year. One of the things that I talked about yesterday that this committee should know, and the homicides in 2021, we had 20 homicides in 2021. In 2022 and 2023, so far this year we have 8. So that is a 60% reduction in those past 2 years. So while one's too many, if we can continue to see that number drop down to 0, that would certainly be beneficial. That's all I have on the report, unless anybody has
Any
questions.
questions on the report? We have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mr. Hunter.
Thank you. Facts and data don't lie. I always tell folks, going from 20 to 8, what are the contributing factors, Sheriff, in your estimation? You collaborate with all the local agencies.
We do, and you know, a lot of it comes down to being given the resources to do their job, and that has never been an issue here, and that's a credit to everybody on this board. There was a time a few years ago in the city where they weren't given the resources they needed, and they weren't being allowed to police as they knew how to police. So I think that contributes to a lot of it, is just being able to do their job. And I mean, it's no secret. I mean, you know, we know where the shots fired calls are. We know where the homicides are, although we've had a couple in our jurisdiction as well. You know, it becomes a leadership issue, and allowing the police officers to do their work and to do the preventative stuff and to get out there and be visible. And I think that's a credit to Mayor Curtis, as I said yesterday, and Chief Passwater and Chief Kidwell. So,
And just to follow up, I know the, was it $40,000 technology with the shot spotter and the Kankakee. You know, that indicates or tells where the shots come from. I was laughing one day. I got a text from Chief Police, because I'm on the NAACP group that interfaces with the cops and stuff, and try to get facts out as opposed to the social media stuff, which is insane sometimes, and it exacerbates the situation, gives fallacious information.
Steve, could you come up to the mic closer?
Yeah, and which complicates the matters quite a bit. There was a situation over in the Hobby Heights, and we got a report about shots fired. So the cops went over, the detectives went over there. The guy readily admitted that he shot at a dog, an outside dog, and I guess his dog was in heat, and he was trying to mate with his dog, and it was just kind of interesting, a little levity. But you know, that technology works. But with respect to Pembroke Township, for example, you know, where there's a lot of shooting out there, you know, I mean, it's like, you know, cowboy days out there, and I hear that from Rosemary Foster, the county board person, as well as the township supervisor, Sam Payton, former member of this board, and Mark Hodge, the mayor of the village of Hopkins Park. What can we do? You know, because I know that they've been after you for a substation. You've made an overture, you know, to the school district out there to put resource officers in the schools, as well as one of the other benefits, helping out in the township as well as the village. Where do you see some efforts on your part in spite of those circumstances?
So, backing up to the shots fired calls out there, in Pembroke Township, Hopkins Park, there are residential areas that are basically on big lots, whether they're 5 acres or whatever. And it is not illegal to set up your own firing range at your residence, as long as you don't put your neighbors or anybody else in jeopardy. And there are many of those out there. And those shots, you know, the biggest issue with the shots out there are the time that the shots are happening. So if they're happening after, and I don't know what the ordinance says, 9 o'clock or sometime at night, that's when it becomes an issue. During the day, I mean, people can go in their backyard if they've built a berm and have everything they need, they can fire their guns all day long if they want. And we've told them that. We do respond to every call that we get. So if somebody from Pembroke Township, Hopkins Park contacts us, we send a car to the area where the shots were fired. We find out if it is just somebody shooting in their backyard, and we address the issue with them. So those situations are addressed. Obviously, shots fired calls where there's a victim and a gunshot is something completely different. So that's, I think, where the whole issue is are the shots fired calls because somebody's getting shot at, or are the shots fired calls because people are shooting in their backyard and the neighbor doesn't like it? I mean, that's the issue, which we've dealt with them a lot on and talked about issues a lot. You know, the other issues they deal with out there are the four-wheelers that are on the roadways, much like in every other jurisdiction in the county. And you know, one of the problems with four-wheelers, whether you're in the city of Kankakee, whether you're in the village of Hopkins Park, you know, we can try and chase a four-wheeler. In all likelihood, they're going to go off-road, which we cannot. And God forbid, if something happens to that individual on his four-wheeler, whether he gets in an accident, who do you think they're going to blame because Johnny got in an accident on his four-wheeler because the police were trying to stop him? We are. So it's a trick bag. So we deal with that. We deal with the village of Hopkins Park, Pembroke Township a lot, all in a positive manner. I mean, it's you know, not an issue, but you know, those are the two main issues that are going on out east in the county.
But they need, of course, stable law enforcement, and they need, yeah, stable.
No doubt.
You know, 24/7, and you know they go after soft money grants, etc. But then those run out, and the problem still exists. There's 52 square miles out there, and you know, for the life of me, I don't know how you guys do it, but you do. Will you again approach the school district, because there's a new superintendent? I'm trying to remember if it was the old superintendent, the guy.
It was the old.
Okay, well, you got a new one now.
And it was the board. It wasn't, according to the superintendent, prior to Dr. Smith, Dr. Marcus Alexander claimed that the board was not in favor of it. So it was a board issue, not a superintendent issue.
Okay. Well, okay.
But we'd be happy to revisit it, and I'd be happy to hear a motion to hire 6 deputies to patrol Pembroke Township and Hopkins Park.
Moving on to the inmate rental cost analysis.
I didn't hear a motion. I don't know. So yeah, the inmate bed rental. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. I apologize for telling them before I told you, but timing is everything. And this number is somewhat of a working number, and it's a tough number to get to. I'd like to thank Joanne and Anita for providing some of the information that we need when we're trying to figure out cost. And you know, the bottom line is, if you look at across at the top, do you have this on the slide? Oh, you don't? Okay. If you look across at the fiscal 22 direct jail expense, that basically is the corrections budget, which obviously is the jail expense, the direct jail expense for both jails. That includes everything. That includes overtime. That includes everything out of the general fund budget. The utility expense, we got those numbers from Mr. McCarty, and that is the utility expense for both jails. The liability insurance is what we pay for the liability as well, which is all part of it, and the staff benefits, which obviously include not only their insurance, but their IMRF as well. So the total jail expense is $17.7 million when you total all those numbers, even though our budget was 11.5. So you have an additional $6 million in utilities, liability, and staff expense. So when you take the local number and the expense that you would have with just the locals, obviously we have a staff reduction. We're not sure if there is a utility reduction, only because that is dependent on whether or not we're still operating both jails. However, we did make that deduction. And liability insurance, whether that number goes down, that's in the third line, whether that number goes down 200,000, we don't know that for sure either. And the staff benefits is based on the number of staff that we would require to just operate our jail without one out-of-county inmate. So you see the difference in the jail expense, and we estimate that the out-of-county out-of-county housing costs us about $5.7 million. So when you take that $5.7 million, and the revenue back in 2022 was $8.6 million, you come up with a number of about approximately $2.9 million. And I say approximately because it's give or take $100,000 or $200,000 either way. So it's either slightly over $3 million, maybe it might be 2.7. Bottom line is the program beneficial? I would say it is. If you look at the number and the daily expense per inmate, which is right above the total cost savings, you see that to house a local inmate, it's approximately $130.29. To house an out-of-county inmate is $54.17. So our contract, we charge $90 based on our contract with the U.S. Marshals. And the reason we do that is because if you look at those two numbers, the 130.29 and the 54.17, total them and divide it by 2, the cost is $92.23. So we're right around that $90 number. So, obviously we have to justify that information to the feds who we contract with. So we are right on the number when it comes to the total number we have. So, and you can look and see without, at the bottom on the right-hand side, without the inmate program, you compare the $9.2 million in jail revenue, which includes some other things like inmate phone and some other things that are on, and I believe that number is in your packet as well. In fact, I have it on my phone here real quick. The page 3 of what I've included. So there's an arrestee medical fund, which is money that comes out of court fines, an inmate bond fee, which is now gone away because of the Safety Act, an inmate booking fee, which we still get for processing all the municipalities' inmates, room and board, which we will still have based on sentencing, inmate telephone money, IDOC mileage reimbursement, Social Security reimbursement that we send inmates names and information to Social Security, and they refund that money to us. Obviously, the out-of-county housing we wouldn't have if we didn't have any. And that last number skews it a little bit because that $331,000 is from IDOC for housing their inmates during COVID. So without the inmate program, we would have an expense, including benefits and everything else, liability, utilities, of $11.4 million. So we would have no reimbursement whatsoever. It would just be a straight $11.4 million. So hopefully that makes sense. I'd be happy to answer any questions, but it is not an exact science.
Ms. Andrade.
So on here I see the medical care for inmates. If they have insurance or whatever, how come we cover that?
So we do a couple things. If they have insurance, which I would say 99% of them do not, we bill the insurance company. If they are on public aid, we send it to public aid. So those two things are covered for inmate medical, but otherwise, the county bears the cost. Now, the county doesn't bear the cost from the marshals or the out-of-counties. That cost is borne by those jurisdictions.
Mr. Wheeler.
That was kind of where I was wondering. Just I've seen this in different forms over the years, and the medical expense for the locals we pay, and
Yes.
so that's built into your direct expense.
Yes,
And then it's backed out of the feds and the other one, Champaign, because they're
Correct.
paying
yes, that's right.
for the medical. That's
Yes,
maybe
that's right.
the difference.
That's right.
You know, which
But
is-
one of the things you should know even about our locals, and I've told this committee a number of times about what Katie Bukowski does for us, and she has saved us, I think she's been with us 3 years, 4 years maybe. She has saved us since that time, I want to say $1.5 million in medical costs, so that's significant. Significant.
Explain to what Katie does going through the
So, I'll be honest with you, I don't even know.
Okay.
Let me rephrase that. I don't know how she does it.
Yeah.
So she knows all the medical billing codes. Something I have no interest in learning. I'm sure none of us in here know how to do it, but by God, she does it. And she knows the codes. She calls the providers and says, hey, this is this, and you build us this, and then they change it. She's not very well thought of by the medical providers, but we're paying what we should pay. I mean, we're not underpaying, we're paying what we should pay. So she does a great job.
Go ahead, Mr. Wheeler.
Thank you. And it's just we talk about it in finance, but for this committee's, knowledge, the program was so we could pay for our own prisoners and our own jail expense. So we were taking out a county to cover off the cost for our taxpayers here. And as we looked at this, 5-6 years ago, and over the course of the whole program, it's done its job. Out of this 2.903, just keep in mind that we're taking that and paying off the jail and everything this year. So
Yes.
these expenses will be absorbed, as far as the bond. It's not in here right now, and it won't be in here going forward, I guess, in the calculation.
Right.
So it's just to pay for our own, and that's why I think that this committee kind of keeps an eye on what's the Safety Act going to do as far as our
Right.
own
Right.
in custody. Because what are our true costs? It's the employees that work there, and this is why it's not a perfect science, because
It is not.
how's
perfect.
a CO? You're from the Marshals, you're from the from Cook County, you're from Champaign County. How do you divide that time up if there's 5 other people there of locals? And it's tough to do. You make some assumptions.
Well, as I said, with Anita and Joanne, who helped us with a lot of the employee stuff, when we did this back in 2018, it was amazing when we did the employee list and how many employees had changed through turnover, and not because they left. Some left because they didn't like it. Some left because they found police jobs. Some left because they found other jobs in the private sector. I mean, it happens. It's not a pleasant job. I mean, I'll tell you that right now. And it takes a special person to do that. And God love them, because we'd be nowhere without them. So
But you do have a lot of long-term dedicated people out there.
we have a lot of long-term dedicated people who do a great job.
Anything else?
No, I mean, talked a little bit about
Any
the
other
Safety
questions
Act.
for the sheriff?
I'm hesitant to find out how the state's going to handle pretrial. If they turn it into what parole is, it's going to be a joke. But we have to go into it, and hopefully and the reason I say that is because sometimes the state doesn't have a vested interest in our community, and just much like parole, I mean, they don't, they have 2 or 3 different counties that they deal with, and there's no investment in our community to make our community better. We hope that that's not the case with pretrial, but we can only go by past experience in dealing with the state. So Ms. Andrade has a question.
Ms. Andrade, sorry.
So with the pre-trial, are they gonna have like, when they're on probation, ankle bracelets or anything to monitor what they're doing?
That's probably a question for Tom.
Oh.
He's coming to the microphone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they plan to do all that. To have any kind of electronic monitoring, it's just going to be limited. That's not how they view supervision different than I do it, and it's pretty much court notification, making sure they don't get rearrested and show up for court. So there's not a lot of supervision conditions that are going to be monitoring. Okay, so they are going to have people on electronic monitoring, but I think it's going to be a low number.
A couple things that we've dealt with, and this isn't obviously not Tom's fault, but one of the individuals, there was an individual arrested a couple weeks ago, and he was on parole. He was on electronic monitoring, and they were, so from 10, let me get these times right, from 10 in the morning till 10 at night, they're not monitored. From 10 at night to 10 in the morning, that's when the electronic monitoring is. So they basically have 12 hours to go and do whatever they want to do without being monitored. Yep.
You can see we're looking at each other a little confused, because obviously when I think of electronic monitoring, I'm thinking it's 24 hours a day.
Right.
You know, I mean, what do I know? Nothing, apparently. So,
hey, we were the same way when we heard about it. So,
yeah, interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Maybe.
Thank you. Up next, Animal Control, Ms. Laird. In the package, you have a copy of her monthly report. Take a motion to approve. Ms. Earps and Mr. Fairfield. Good morning, Carrie.
Good morning. So for the report, a couple things to look at is the yearly total to date, compare it from this year compared to last year. The four top numbers up there, they're significantly lower this year than last year. That's because a lot of pets come into our building and go unclaimed, so a lot of them are not being returned to their owners. So that's where those fees and fines are usually recouped from the owners, but they are not being reclaimed. That goes hand in hand with the end of the month inventory for our dogs and cats. We had 32 dogs at the end of September, which was a lot. It's a very, very taxing on our staff. So it's very hard to get all those animals and make everybody safe in our building the way it's set up. So thankfully we have a new building coming up, but it's been difficult to deal with the number of animals we have to deal with. One other thing, the numbers for on this top half, that's all the fees that we receive. We don't get tax dollars from the county. A lot of people think that we do. We don't receive any tax dollars from the county at all. So any fees that we generate are that brought back to us are our only income.
Any questions? Mr. Hunter.
Again, Mr. Chairman, where are you with sealing the deal with Kankakee City?
That will take place once we have our new building, so we have more room for the animals there. We have talked with them several times regarding that contract.
Mr. Carrico.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the Animal Control for everything that you guys do for the health and welfare for our dogs here and the pets in general. You just mentioned something about the fees, which I understand that, you know, that's how you guys actually get all the things paid internally. Now, I have a question. Now, you have a charge. Generally, the Animal Control has a charge for registering the pet after the pet will get vaccinated, correct? And that is done every time.
Every time the pet, receive a rabies vaccination.
Like even if you vaccinated the pet today and then vaccinated the pet a year from now, you pay it again.
If the rabies was only done, there's 1 year and 3 year rabies, right. So yes.
Exactly. So that is done. That charge is generally processed every time the person will vaccinate the dog. I'm talking about mostly a dog now in this case. Now, right now, if I understand correctly, you have like you said, this 1 year is $15. for 1 year and $30 for 3 year.
Those are
vaccination.
altered pets.
Exactly.
Yes.
I'll get to that one.
Okay.
So that is for if it is sterilized.
Correct.
The dog that is not sterilized will be pretty much $45 for that for 1 year, which is approximately 300% difference between the dog that's sterilized or non-sterilized. And then for the 3 years is $30, and not sterilized is $100, which is 335% higher than being sterilized. Now, my question would be, the sterilization of an animal, the dog for instance, is that a law?
No, it depends on the circumstances. If they're brought to our building twice and they're found running at large, then yes, that is state law, they have to be neutered.
Right, but if, let's say for an instance, let's say an individual has a dog at home that doesn't get loosed or up and about, and then that person is generally recommended to sterilize the dog because it's not specifically a law or mandating that the individual will have to sterilize the dog. Is that correct?
I don't say we recommend anybody to get the dog sterilized. We appreciate when we're limiting the pet population in our area because it limits the strays that come into our building.
Okay.
So
but that individual, if that person does not sterilize the dog, when it comes to time to register the animal, that person will be paying that amount that I just mentioned a little bit before.
Contributes to the
for
pet
not being
population fund.
sterilized.
Correct.
So that person is actually say, hey, you had the choice to sterilize, you chose not to because it's not mandated to do so, but then you have to pay more now that you got to register your animal.
Correct.
Okay. I looked under your tab for the fees, and I saw that the difference between 15, 45, 30, and 100. I didn't see any information in regarding to why, why the dog owner will be paying more in case. So like, the way I look at it is will be beneficial for those individuals. Let's say, for instance, give you a scenario. Let's say I have a person with a steady low income. Right now, based on my research and my experience, it costs approximately $500 to sterilize an animal.
So there are low-cost pet facilities. So you can actually, if you are low income, and then we also have a SNP program, you can receive coupons that will actually offset the cost of the neuter or spay. And there are facilities that do it for low cost or for low income as well. We have a low income program.
And that information can be obtained where?
That's on our website. A lot of it's on our website, our low income, and then our SNP program. SNP program starts in February and it runs until May. You receive a coupon, and you return that into the vet's office, and then they give us the coupon back. We offset that cost with the pet population fund, and that goes back to the vet's office.
Okay.
And then the low income program is the same way. You prove that you receive some kind of a state assistance, and then I review it, and then we generally okay it, and then we offset the cost that way. There are low income and low cost spay and neuter programs. Spay Illinois is a very large one. And NAWS is another one. South Suburban, they do have low income and low cost pet population pet programs.
Now, is that possible to maybe add something under your fee schedule, something that explains a little bit about the difference between why they're paying for something that they chose not to do because they had the choice to do so? A little bit more.
Our fee schedule on our website?
Give them like a heads up so they can save some money for they can actually go and then sterilize their animals.
On our website, you're asking about? Yeah. Sure, we can do that.
At least give somebody a little bit of a time. Say, hey, I'm going to do this. My thing is, maybe just preventing people from, okay, I'm not going to vaccinate my dog because if I do that, my dog is not fixed yet. I'm going to be paying $100 more, implies I'm going to have to spend another $500 to sterilize my dog. And then people end up not vaccinating the dog or waiting because of the issues with the fees. So at least gives people a little bit about information. You have the choice, but give a little bit of time for them to raise the money.
So any pet under 9 months is considered, and they don't have to be altered. It's $15 for any pet under 9 months, whether they're altered or not. So there is that.
Right. No, I understand about the fees. I was just trying to figure it out. How can we help people a little bit to get a little bit of heads up why they should do, and give them an incentive instead of just penalizing them. Say, hey, you got to be paying $100 more or $100 for this if you don't do it.
Sure, I'll look into that, definitely.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on the questions on the report? We have a motion, a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
The only other thing I have is if you drive by our new building, there are walls up, so it is coming along spectacularly. We have a bi-weekly meeting with the architect and the construction management team, and it's nice to know what's going on. I am able to look and see pictures online if we don't drive by the building or go in there, that there are walls up. You can see the indoor-outdoor runs. It's fantastic that it's coming together. So hopefully in June we should be in if everything goes according to plan.
Okay. Thank you. Up next, Coroner's Office. Have a copy of the monthly report and the monthly receipts of money. Take a motion to combine and approve that by Mr. Long, second by Ms. Andrade.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning.
Everybody else.
Comments on your report, sir?
Basically, in September, looking at, I come off of this sheet and another sheet, but we're basically, we had 5 natural deaths, one homicide, 1 suicide, 3 accidental deaths, and 4 cases are pending, which going back to show you that our suicides are way up this year than they have been. I think there were 21, was there, Eric? 22 last year, and this is a problem. I met with a gentleman that's the head of the suicide, and I'm going to meet with him to go over some points, which I can give him some points of what's going on as far as suicides out there. Homicides are holding, as the sheriff said, at 8. I don't like to hear what he said about the people that get released that are under have addicts and people that sell the drugs out on the streets again. But our numbers of basically holding, when everybody knock on their desks, holding right now on the ODs at 27 and the 1 pending. We've been out doing a lot of teaching and a lot of we've had lots of Narcan saves right now, which is dedicated to the police officers that get to the scene quick, the EMS, and along with both hospitals, St. Mary's and Riverside, do their work when they come directly to the ER. So drugs haven't settled down, but yet some of our statistics are down a little bit, so that's a good sign. We're working hard at it, trying to keep it up as much as possible. I know I'd like to see that number at 0, but I know it'll be very difficult to do, but if we can just bring it down. Methamphetamines are coming back into our county again. We're starting to see meth, which is not good to see, and then a lot of, again, fentanyl. So it's a problem all over the United States, I believe. So other than that, I'll take any questions you have. We are continually working on XAX, going out to Pembroke. You talked about Pembroke. I am going out to Pembroke to do Narcan training out there. People requested to have that out there, and we'll go out there and take care of that with Mr. Rose. Got a place out there where there's a lot of people out there that are giving different organizations something to learn about the county, and also give the opportunity to see them in person to be able to do the Narcan training, which is a positive for me. So,
any questions on the report, Ms. Andrade?
It's not on the report, but what is the grade levels that you guys go and visit schools? Where does it start at?
Well, actually, we've been going to the low elementaries right now because they're the up and coming youth. It just have to get to them. A lot of principals have approached us to have somebody come to our school. We've been there. We've done a couple of classes this year on people. You'd be surprised the answers they give you when you ask them that naming a couple of drugs, and they'll say cocaine, fentanyl. And you go, wow. Another thing that I'm out there right now is vaping. Vaping with the new medical reports. I read a lot of the medical reports come in from the DEA and all that stuff that's really getting bad for your lungs. You're absorbing that oil into your lungs, and I'm out there trying to teach that. And they also mix a lot of other stuff into that vaping. So we've been asked to come to the schools to talk about vaping, so we're going to talk about that too. So one thing after another, but between Eric and I, we get out as much as possible. We still go all of the seniors, and we still teach all the new patrolmen about Narcan, even though they get training on it. We want to make sure they're on target. And other than that, that's about it.
I didn't see Jim here today. I was gonna ask him, when you guys do go to visit the schools, what is it that, besides, the drugs and everything, what is all participated into your guys' program?
What is all into it?
Mm-hmm.
He talks about the laws, basically, and if you get caught, what happens, and there's a lot of things we mix in there, but basically the drugs, because we know every school in this area has got problems.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what you want to say. We know it, we see it, and it just have to get out there to teach. We're trying to get into every school. It's difficult. They don't want to recognize it, that there's any problems there, but there's problems.
We have a motion and a second on the report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now I have a question for you. Do you have a grant now for your Narcan?
Narcan's got the grant. We got it back. We have it. I know Julie Larson is not working at the health department anymore, but we're working on with John Beavis on that. We have no problems. Law enforcement still gets it at Riverside, and we're all taken care of. We got the money. So.
Good.
That was a big hit.
Any other questions for the coroner? Okay, thank you.
Just all have a wonderful day.
Any old business to come before the committee? Any old business? Any new business? Mr. Wheeler.
Just real quick, we included the Tyler Technologies update in the packet, just so the committee would know that there's a lot of work going on over at the courthouse behind the scenes, with whether it's probation and then running parallel to that is the systems within the courthouse. I believe they're with and Jason's here if anybody had any questions, general questions. Don't want to go too much in the weeds, but if people want to know where we're at, timelines, any of that kind of stuff, just it's a brief update. There'll be a lot more coming later, so it's up if the committee wants to ask any questions of Jason.
Did you want to give us a quick highlight?
Jason, you want to? Yeah. You do this one. Yeah. Interpretive dance.
Right, on the spot. Everything's going really well with the Tyler system so far. We've been going through the circuit clerk system. We just configured the all the data has just been pushed into the first version of it, and we are going through data mapping. Everyone's been extremely positive about the new changes. On the supervisor side, we just got our first data push, going through the configurations on that. Right now, we're going to be looking at the attorney manager, which is handling the public defender and state's attorney side in January. As of right now, that's all I can think of off the top of my head. But everything's going really well.
Good. Thank you.
Just, I guess the thing is, expect problems on these types of projects. That always comes up when you're rolling out new technology. Just know that we've encountered some. We'll encounter more. But it's what I've noticed is we tend to rally as an interdepartmental group around those problems. And I guess that's pretty accurate to say, because the danger is having a myopic view, like the system is only for what this is what I need it for, instead of what the whole system is needed for. And I think we finally broke through. Well, not finally. I think we've broken through that barrier that could exist. So.
Yeah, as Andy said in the past, there will be problems, but we just work through it, and everything's been great.
Thank you. Any other old or new business come for Mr. Carrico? Motion to adjourn, second by Miss Andrade. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign.